Good morning and welcome. Thank you for waking up bright and early to come and see our presentation. Today, me, Marcus, and my partner, Bryn, will be discussing the Canadian suspension of drone technology exports to Turkey. Before we get started, I've got a specific shout out to any students who are listening to this from the comfort of their beds. I want you to know, I respect that, and we are dedicated to making sure that this presentation isn't so boring that you nod off back to sleep. With all that being said, let's get to the topic at hand. When deciding on our thesis question, we wanted something course-related, unbiased, and thought-provoking, the last of which was meant to guide and specifically identify what we want to research. With these rules in mind, we asked the following question. Is Canada legally obligated to suspend the export permits of drone technology to Turkey under any international agreements after the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict? And what are the implications for other military technology companies in Canada if that's true? With this question in mind, we must first understand the conflict itself. For this, we'll pass you on to Bryn.
So, what is the conflict that's happening currently, and what are some of the allegations that have been alleged against some parties here? It's important to note before we jump into anything that we're not trying to take a moral stance on the issues at play here, and are instead just interested in the legality of the decision of the Canadian government to suspend exports to Turkey. It is important to have an understanding of the conflict that's ongoing, as it plays a major role in the decision-making process of the Canadian government, so let's jump into it. The conflict is dubbed the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict. It's an ethnic and territorial conflict between Armenia and Azerbaijan over the disputed region of Nagorno-Karabakh. It's important to note that Turkey has close ties to Azerbaijan, and the conflicted region has been the subject of several UN resolutions calling for an end to the occupation of the Azeri lands. The present situation began in 1988, but its origins were actually in the early 20th century. The specific allegation being made was that there's the alleged killing of civilians by Azerbaijan's unmanned drones, which are purchased from Turkey and assembled with Canadian parts. So what exactly is Canada suspending? It's important to note that Canada does not do arms trading with Azerbaijan, but does with Turkey. The specific item at play is the export permits for the Westcam MX-15. This is, quote, an imaging and targeting sensor system that contains laser designators to paint targets for laser-guided bombs launched by drones or fighter aircraft. It's important to understand that these systems are integral to the function of the drones, and that Turkey is the second largest purchaser of this system aside from the United States. This item is captured in Group 2 of Canada's export control list, and it also falls within the UNATT, or the United Nations Arms Trade Treaty. So what laws, rules, and agreements allow for the government to make this decision? Well, first, there's the export control list. Canada's export control list is a collection of products that are subject to additional government control over the exportation of those products. This is in accordance with the Export and Imports Permits Act. The Trade Controls Bureau is responsible for issuing the certificates and permits for items that are held within the ECL, and controlled products include things such as firearms, peanut butter, softwood lumber, textiles and clothing, and most importantly for this project, military and strategic goods and technology. The other important piece of legislation that is surrounding this issue is the United Nations ATT, or the United Nations Arms Trade Treaty. The ATT regulates the international transfer of weapons and attempts to reduce human suffering. Under the ATT, Canada is obligated to assess the risk that weapons exported abroad could result in human rights violations, gender-based violence, or threaten regional peace or security.
It is important to ask specifically why and how Canada suspended their agreement with Turkey. Since 2016, Turkey has been involved in military conflicts in Libya, Syria, and Iraq. Meanwhile, Canadian-made Westcam imaging systems have been seen on downed Turkish military drones in all three of those countries. There are also allegations that Turkey has struggled to distinguish military from civilian targets in their conflicts, and that Turkey has allegedly shared military equipment with Azerbaijan for its most recent conflict over Nagorno-Karabakh. As a result of these rumors, Canada is concerned that the Canadian-built military equipment have been used in ways that go against the principles outlined in the ATT agreement. As a result, Canada decided to put the agreement on hold until these allegations are fully investigated or the region finds a peaceful resolution. To explore why this issue is important, we wanted to discuss how each party was affected by the decision to put the contract on hold. First of all, the decision has negatively affected the relations between Canada and Turkey, potentially jeopardizing future cooperation. Secondly, the Ontario-based company that produces Westcam imaging systems will lose a lot of money due to the inability to fulfill their contracts. Third, the decision puts other weapons companies, especially in Canada, on edge. Because their contracts could potentially be at risk of being put on hold due to a client misusing its technology, weapons manufacturers have to be diligent in selecting clients that have a solid track record as far as human rights is concerned. When tackling a topic about something such as drone technology, you can find a lot of issues finding the information itself. Finding unbiased information can be difficult because the conflict is still ongoing. There is a ceasefire currently, but the situation is still rather unstable. As well, limited information around the contract itself has become a serious issue for us. Technology concerning national security is often protected or classified, so getting access to journals that actually give us enough information about the trade or the legal environment as well as the geopolitical environment is extremely difficult.
So what is it exactly that we want to be focusing on next? So the next steps for us include further research into the specific contracts concerning the suspension. As we identified previously, this might be difficult due to the nature of the materials at hand, but we're hoping that maybe with continued research we can find something. We want to do some exploration into if the force majeure clause could apply in this situation for L3 Harris because they had no decision in the canceling of the contract. We want to do some continued research into the wider implications that this decision from the Canadian government will have into military technology companies operating in Canada. And we'd also like to do some continued research into the trade implications of this decision between Canada and Turkey.